Another one. Another one. We the best music. DJ Khaled.
I don't know if you could take it. No, you wanna see me naked, naked, naked. I wanna be a baby, baby, baby. Spinning and it's wet just like
spoilers for Doctor Who Season 10, Episode 11, just right off the bat.
Okay.
What you think?
Sure.
Yeah. If you haven't watched it, be careful. We're going to spoil some stuff.
Yeah, so maybe...
That has been totally spoiled by the next time on Doctor Who. I don't know, why do they do those? Do they think they have to entice you into coming back?
They must think that.
Yeah, I don't understand why they think that, because they don't need to.
Yeah,
we're there. We're in for it.
We're invested in Doctor Who. We're going to come back.
I think very few people are, like, picking up Doctor Who at this point.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Maybe if they go away or they have a big reboot or, you know, kind of do something to fix what I think they think of as its declining fortunes. I think it's still doing pretty good for a show that is from another country. You know what I mean? Like, compare its numbers to, I don't know, Misfits or something like that. Like,
sure.
It's doing good, but it's less than it was. I don't know what they sell through on sonic screwdrivers is these days, but I think that's falling. Yeah, but this is a good episode. It's the first episode of the two-parter that's going to be the end of this season and possibly the end of the Doctor, this incarnation of the Doctor. Well, I mean, It definitely will be in some way. We don't know how it's going to tie into the Christmas special.
Right. The foreboding Christmas special. I mean, I don't know what it is about the Christmas special, but
it's got to happen. What I don't understand is everything seems to happen for a show that jumps around in time. Maybe they made this decision. It's very rigid in its continuity in that every subsequent episode needs to take place farther along the Doctor's timeline. You could do flashbacks at any point with this character and with this show, and they have teased that when, for instance, like Matt Smith departs and then Matt Smith will show up, you know, on the phone or something like that. Like, time travel.
Right.
And I wonder why they don't do that all the time. And it's because you don't want to undercut the legitimacy of the new guy. But how many Doctors are alive still?
Quite
like
a few.
6? So, yeah, I mean, you could do, if you wanted to do the 6 Doctors or something, go for it.
Absolutely.
I think we talked about this already. Anyway, this episode is, once again, not on the show, but I think maybe just in a private conversation we were talking about, I was talking about the fact that Doctor Who is very inventive, but it has no qualms about just stealing something and not really even shutting it out.
Sure.
They've been stealing a lot of things this season, just from popular movies and culture and things like that. For a show that was very early sci-fi, I suppose it has the right to sort of update itself or upgrade itself.
Sure.
With parts from its children, things that have come after it. But sometimes it's like, guys, come on. In this episode, there's this giant colony ship, which is just outside of a black hole. And the ship is very long. It's 400 miles long. And it's thrusting as much as it can to sort of stay away from getting sucked into this black hole.
Right.
Not flat, by the way. Black holes aren't flat, but whatever. It's a cool visual thing. And so because of that, we've seen Interstellar. We know that the higher the gravity is, somewhere the slower time is.
Right.
So it has the effect where the Doctor and Nardole and Missy are in one part of the ship and Bill's in another. And so time is, seconds are passing for the Doctor, but years are passing for Bill.
Yes.
And she's like, what? I don't understand. It's like, you're a sci-fi geek. You've seen Interstellar, Bill. Come on.
I know.
Or maybe not. Maybe you're really busy with your studies or janitoring or whatever
well,
it is
she's always schooling the Doctor on these types of things.
Right.
So then why...
Or at least finding the
doesn't
parallel.
She know?
And that's kind of one of my complaints with Bill, or at least with their writing of Bill, is that I think she started off so good, and she's just turned into an old-style companion now, where she just gets in trouble, and the Doctor has to come save her, and... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Like, I don't know what she's going to do, and here's the spoiler part. I don't know what she's going to do against the Master, like the Master, the bad guy Master.
Yeah.
But the last couple episodes, she's just been in trouble, and there's just nothing that she could do about it.
Yeah.
And the whole invasion by the monks is kind of her fault. And so
I know.
she looks like a dum-dum.
And that lasted for a couple episodes.
She looks like a dum-dum, and she's not a dum-dum. I mean, I think
not.
it's bad writing when... Well, it's good writing to set up the fact that later on when you write her bad, I go, that's not what she would do. She's not dumb.
Right.
So
the character was set up great.
Unfortunate. I always like the fact, too, that they've really been playing silly buggers with the Doctor's age recently. Again, it's that whole continuity thing where every time you see him and he mentions his age, it's some later number. And he's like the one thing that we can kind of rely on to show us where we are. And the last couple seasons, especially with Matt Smith's Doctor, they've been blowing that out of proportion. And then, of course, they had Heaven Sent, where the Doctor lives for 3 billion years, the age of a universe or whatever, inside the pocket watch.
Sure.
So how old is he now? What does he tell people? Just very old.
Yeah, I guess so, because he lost track of how many years it is.
Well,
do you think that's possible?
Even a Time Lord couldn't keep that much time.
You would think so.
Lord or no.
Yeah.
Or lady.
Lord or lady.
Or lady. And, you know, I kind of noticed, too, it's like, okay, you've got a young, geeky black woman with, like, big hair who gets an Iron Man heart. And it's like, are you guys doing Riri Williams?
Oh.
Is this like Ironheart?
I didn't even think
what
about
you're doing?
I didn't even think about that, but that's a good question.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's cool. It's creepy. I really like the idea of her sort of turning the dial up on the Sonos speaker and hearing the horrible things that they're saying. Like, look, please kill me. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. No, I don't know what to do. And she turns the volume back down. It's kind of like, I'm getting out of here. That was really neat. And then also, like, you know, the big reveal here is that these are the original Cybermen. All the Cybermen we've seen in the new series to this point have been from Pete's World. They've been Cybus Industries Cybermen.
Sure.
And so these are the original Cybermen. And I'm not sure how this is going to fit in with the events of The 10th Planet, the serial from 1966, that first introduces us to the Mondasian Cybermen.
Sure. Because,
bad Who fan, a little murky. I believe that Mondas just goes off into space and is supposed to freezes or is destroyed or something like that.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure what happens. But the point is that somehow this is some kind of time buggery here in that it's John Simm's master.
Yes.
And they're playing up the fact that he's saying to Missy, like, oh, don't you remember doing this? Oh, you're me later on.
Yeah.
But it's already kind of messed up because John Simm's master doesn't exactly have a unbroken line. Like, he dies, like dead, and his body is burned to a crisp.
Right.
And then a lady's hand that's not the Ronnie, grabs his ring. I guess that does something. And then his wife does some kind of magic ritual that brings him back. But he's Electro Man.
Convoluted.
And then he gets sucked into the time vortex or the time lock in Gallifrey or something. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and find out how he came back in the first place. Did they say with Missy, or was she just like, "Oh, I'm back"? Fun stuff.
I can't remember if they said with Missy or not.
I don't know,
honestly.
Either. So as far as it being like, ooh, well, I mean, there's a good reason why she doesn't remember, but they're trying to really draw a parallel between the two of them, and I'm like, there is none. It's totally broken. Like.
Right.
He was a eating guy. He ate everything. Remember?
Yeah.
That was his whole thing. And of course, that's why you don't do the next time on, because all the major plot points were basically spoiled.
Yes.
Especially just the presence of John Simm. I know they're trying to sell the show. Who's not going to turn into the 2-part finale of Doctor Who?
Right.
No matter how much you have not enjoyed or whatever. And so when the guy comes out that's got eyebrows and a mouth kind of like John Simm, only he looks like a rat man.
Yeah.
There you go.
Obviously.
Yeah, so he's the master.
Yes.
The old master, he did always love a bit of disguise.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was trying to work so the guy's name is Razor, and I was trying to work out, the master always did like an anagram. Like his name was always Reptimaz or something like that. Oh, I'm Reptimaz. And the Doctor, smartest man in the universe, is like, oh, nice to meet you. Come on. So I was trying to figure it out, and I couldn't figure out anything except the fact that he is kind of like rat-like.
Yeah.
Just I saw him and I thought, oh, it's Ratman.
Yes.
And I was trying to work on it, and the master kind of, you can't spell the master without rat.
Sure.
That all you've got left is themes. So maybe rat themes. There are rat themes in this character. Rat themes. The master. Like, is that what we're supposed to do? I don't know. Just thought that was sort of interesting. But yeah, I really like the idea. It gave me a generation ship stiffy, because this ship becomes essentially a generation ship. Every level of it is moving slower and slower and slower. And so you always wonder how, when the Doctor Who, not Doctor Who. Hello, my name is Doctor Who.
I know. That was great.
Yeah, very meta. But like whenever he destroys all the Daleks, suddenly they come back and there's a million of them again. It's like, well, how do you do that? And this time it sort of makes sense because the ship has become a factory for Cybermen. They have thousands, hundreds of thousands of years to convert however many humans they need, and then you've got a ready-made Cybermen army. So I thought,
Yeah.
like, oh, that's so good. Okay, you were leaving the show, huh? Got some juice in there still.
I know.
So yeah, we'll see how it works out.
I love how the handlebar too is like, oh, this will make you not feel pain.
Yeah, right.
It's like, great, awesome. This'll
Sign me up. I'll take 2.
desensitize you.
Yeah, right. So,
Exactly.
So we'll see how it wraps up. Of course, they have to start with the whole start at the end and then to shock us and keep us watching. Do you have to?
I know.
So he comes out of the TARDIS in a really boring ice field. Like, this is where he's going to die, and starts regenerating. And my thing is, like, how many times have you shown this specific doctor, like, regenerating? And you can only cry regeneration so many times.
Yes.
But he does look kind of different. He's got kind of like his hair is different. He's got like a Paul McGann thing kind of going on.
Kind of a little bit.
A lot more like longer and wavy. So there's definitely more to come.
Yeah.
And we're going to stop talking about
Years
it.
coming or something
And
like
we'll
that.
talk about it on the next show.
Okay.
Next weekend when it comes out. That'll be the last episode until Christmas.
Yes.
Which again, if he's going to regenerate in this one, he could easily
Or-
just tell a flashback story.
Yeah, that's true.
Remember that time I did that thing? They don't have to always plan these things so they land on Christmas. It's supposed to be a special, not like a Christmas. Whatever. British TV, totally different. Totally different. They do, children in need specials that you'd never see here. Red Nose Day specials that you have to steal off the internet that are canon. Like, things happen in them that
Sure.
are referred to later, and we never even know about them because.
Right.
So I don't know. These guys weird crumpets, weird menthol candy. I don't understand. And Christmas specials. This is special. It's our special. It's the Just Enough Trope podcast. I'm your host, Caliban, joined as always by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Mikan Hana.
Would you say a lot to do today?
Yeah, I would say that we have a lot to do.
There's a lot to do, and I feel like we always, like a cat, end up pushing things off the ledge when there's too many things on the ledge. And so we'll try to be judicious about our time on each thing and get to everything we're supposed to get to. We'll talk some news. There's been some big stories. I won't spend a lot of time on it, but we got to hit some of these some important stuff.
Sure.
Which is, I guess it's kind of a tease. We'll get to that in just 1 second. Also, we want to talk about the new Netflix release, Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling.
Right.
Starring Betty Gilpin and Alison Brie and Mark Maron.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wrestling show. It's one of the new Genji Kohan Netflix shows.
Sure.
So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about our segment called Cheapskate Reviews. Let me break it down for you. Movies that went into the theater and we didn't see them, and then they're available for $2 on Redbox, and now we've seen them. So we'll talk about the new DVD and Blu-ray release, Get Out, from director and writer Jordan Peele of Key and Peele, of course.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't squeeze Key in there at all.
No.
You think Key was like, all right,
I see how it is.
Okay. No, I'm going to do this for you. This is your thing. I'll sit it out. No, it's fine.
Well, maybe they don't always have to be a package
I'm not
deal.
going to get you a part in a Mike Birbiglia movie. How about that?
There you go.
And we'll be talking about Craft Disservices, our movie show that the description evolves like the character of Doctor Who over the years. But essentially, it is a show where we talk about the films of history that were hated by critics but loved by fans. We put in quotes, or at least ones that have been remembered for what reason. Or sometimes we just look at just rank disasters and what went wrong.
Sure.
We've got some good ones coming up as far as that goes in the upcoming weeks and months, and we'll talk about that maybe at the end of the segment. But this time around, we're talking about in honor of something, in honor of nothing at all.
CONvergence.
In honor of CONvergence, but also just for the ever-loving heck of it, we're talking about Battle Beyond the Stars.
Yes.
The Roger Corman classic?
Yeah.
You'd say classic?
Sure.
I'm not sold. The 1980 Roger Corman classic asterisk, 45% on Rotten Tomatoes, 45%.
Yeah.
So, as far as quote unquote bad movies go, what's going up there?
Not bad.
That's not too bad. Yeah. It's better than the one we're going to do next time, but we'll get to that later as well. So, Battle Beyond the Stars, talking about that. And then maybe a little tease about what's going to go on for us at CONvergence at the end of our show.
Okay.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, Cal. I'm actually really looking forward to CONvergence. It's coming up super fast.
Yeah, it is.
I'm looking forward to it as usual. I feel like there's a lot we need to do still. So,
and we'll talk about that later. Let's do some news. Well, the movie world was rocked this week by news that Phil Lord and Chris Miller are exiting the Han Solo movie.
I see what you did that there.
Well, I see what I almost did. Yeah, they're out.
Why are they out?
They were fired.
Why were they fired?
Because this happened a couple days ago. We can report with all the details, essentially. So they're out. An announcement was made by Kathleen Kennedy, in Marvel, Disney, or whatever, that they're out. It turns out, or at least the rumor around the shop, is that they were making the wrong kind of movie.
Okay.
These are the Clone High guys. These are the 21 Jump Street guys.
Right.
The Lego Movie / Last Man on Earth guys. And
right.
so they were making that type of movie, only set in the Star Wars universe. And it turns
like
out
a
that
comedy?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I guess that Disney doesn't want that. And specifically, Lawrence Kasdan doesn't want it. Lawrence Kasdan, the writer of The Big Chill, but the writer of The Empire Strikes Back, apparently clashed with them because he's trying to make it Star Wars, serious Star Wars. And apparently they really did not get along. Now, the weird thing is, this thing is like 2 or 3 weeks from being done.
Yeah, that is the weird
This is
thing.
not early in development. Like, this thing is almost all the way shot through. And that has nothing to say for, reshoots or whatever.
Sure.
So that's where we're at. So what happens? We need a director.
Right.
Ron Howard is stepping in to take the reins.
Why Ron Howard?
Is it why Ron Howard, or is it why, Ron Howard? Because my question is, why Ron Howard?
Well, yeah.
Now the story of a successful director who doesn't need to do this. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Because just to say that you could direct a Star Wars movie?
Yeah.
I know he and Lucas have been close ever since American Graffiti. And supposedly, and I think this is Disney propaganda, but supposedly he was an unofficial advisor of sorts to the Star Wars trilogy. But in the way that any of Lucas's friends, Spielberg was a
unofficial advisor, I'm sure.
Unofficial advisor of sorts, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is full-on disaster. Like now we move into the editorial portion of this story. This is I already wasn't sure I wanted to see this. I have really no desire to see this movie now.
You think it's just going to be a pile of crap?
Well, it's got the handsome guy from Hail Caesar that I guess kind of looks like Harrison Ford, but nobody's really excited about him as a movie star. It's got lady who is not a movie star.
Okay.
At all. She's barely a high school play star, Emilia Clarke. Like, she's awful.
Yeah.
And, it's got Donald Glover, but I guess I'm not really sold on him as Lando Calrissian. It's got Phoebe Waller-Price. Love her, but she's going to be totally covered up as a female robot C-3PO or whatever, droid.
Sure.
And it doesn't even have... It's got the new Chewbacca. Peter Mayhew's not even in it. So, yeah. And then you stick Lawrence Kasdan, who... Clearly, Empire Strikes Back, fantastic. But I don't like it when guys who did something great 40 years ago are going to try to do the same thing now. That never, ever, ever works out.
You think he's trying to recreate the magic?
Yeah. Do you see Robert Towne writing like a modern Chinatown? Oh, boy, I should try that. Anyway, the point is that he doesn't work. He doesn't do that.
Right.
Ridley Scott hasn't made a good movie since arguably Gladiator, but definitely Blade Runner or Aliens or whatever.
Sure.
So I don't see that as a strength. If he was going to be an unofficial advisor for the project, great.
Right.
Keep the flavor of the Star Wars flavor.
Right.
But yeah, having him have so much control that he gets the exciting young new directors fired. Bad news.
It doesn't seem great.
It's real bad news.
Yeah. It also seems bad that we're changing directors this late in the game.
Yeah, and the guild is going to have to figure, or the production's going to have to figure out how we're going to credit them.
Yeah.
I don't think, all rules are flexible, I guess, but it has to be directed at least by Lord and Miller, and then maybe Ron Howard.
Right.
And if I'm like, first of all, I hate Ron Howard. I hate every single one of his movies, except Backdraft's okay. Apollo 13's all right, I guess, but don't like him as a director.
Sure.
Thinks he makes bad choices. Don't think that he'll be good for the Star Wars series or world, or at least what Star Wars claims they want to do, which is add a new, interesting visual style. They do this thing where they're hiring these young, up-and-coming directors who, in my opinion, are proving that they don't have the chops to do this sort of thing.
Right.
Colin Trevorrow's most recent movie got like a 24% It's the Book of Henry or whatever.
Yes.
Lambasted, and people say, "Oh, that's it. I think you lost the episode 9 job." I don't think so. I think they'll still work it out because these guys don't direct anyway. What's his name had Rogue One basically taken away from him and reshot by the other guy. Good facts here. Josh Trank just couldn't take the strain and had bombed out of his Star Wars movie. So they good idea. Get the young guys in, fresh ideas.
Right.
They got it right with these guys. These guys gave them exactly what they said they wanted, and they didn't want it. You're fired.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, well, then just get Ron Howard. He'll do whatever you tell him to do. Fine, perfect.
Fine.
But don't do this thing where, because Colin Trevorrow, Book of Henry aside, could have gone off and had 10 more years of a career and turned into something really great, and then you could get him to do a Star Wars movie. Sure. But if you want to manipulate these young directors who can't say no, done it all already. Your final thoughts?
I just think it's kind of crazy for them to like switch horses this late in the game and expect it to be a good movie.
I was hoping for an Arrested Development joke.
Oh. Maybe Ron Howard can finish their sandwiches.
He's just a Kowakian monkey lizard. Ee-hee-haw-hoo! Ee-hee-haw-hoo! Has anybody in this family ever seen a Kowakian monkey lizard? Let's talk about Stephen Moffat again. We were just talking about him. Dracula is going to be a series on the BBC with Gaddis and Stephen Moffat writing and producing it.
Oh, Gaddis.
Yes.
I don't want Gaddis to be writing stuff, period. So...
I don't either, but he's just not. It's like you've got that friend who's awesome, and you invite him to the party, and he always brings that other guy with him. Yeah. And you kind of want him to make a deal with the cool guy that we'll just go out and put that guy's head under the water until the bubbles stop. Right. But at the same time, it's like that guy probably wouldn't get out much if it wasn't for the other guy, and you kind of feel bad for him. So you put up with him. Yeah. That's
He's the
Mark
friend
Gaddis.
you put up with.
Yeah, Mark Gaddis is the smelly friend you put up with because you like the other friend.
Yep. Exactly. So how is this going to conflict with the Dark Universe Universal?
It's not. It's going to ride the rented formal wear coattails of the Dark Universe. In fact, if the Dark Universe collapses the way it looks like it's going to, it'll be the only game in town. So it's win-win.
Is Dracula going to have a British accent then?
No, he's going to have the accent that I just tried to do.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I don't know. I mean, they haven't cast it yet, so cast it. Go.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, but I don't... You think he wants to step away from this stuff now, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably wants to go do other movies and stuff like that.
Martin Freeman to be a good Renfield.
Yeah.
It's got to be somebody... Man, it's got to be somebody who... You know how the BBC does it. They've got their whole Rolodex of actors. So pick the BBC actor who has not made it just yet.
Oh, boy.
Because Cumberbatch, signed on to the whole thing before he kind of blew up.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Tennant did Casanova before he got Doctor Who and then went... Oh, wait. Did he blow up? Where is he now?
I don't know where he is now.
Nowhere.
That's a good
where.
question.
Who is it?
Gosh, I'd almost say, even though he's already, I think, more established, the guy who played Jekyll and Hyde. What's his name?
Really?
Yeah.
He's not. He's like old.
I know.
You want an old Dracula?
Yeah. Why the hell not?
Because you got. That's why the doctor's going to be. We want a
young,
next doctor's going to be in like
sexy
high water
Dracula?
pants. Yeah.
Okay. Oh boy.
Because what was his name? Nesbitt. James Nesbitt. He's like 60s? No. You know what? I think he's in his late 40s.
Okay.
Well, take care of yourself, dude. Okay. All right. Interesting. Got really crooked teeth.
Yeah.
So is that going to work for Dracula?
I guess do teeth implants or what have you.
Okay. The good news is you got the job. Bad news is we're pulling all your teeth out and screwing new ones in.
Oh, my gosh.
Tom Cruise is going to be so jealous. So anyway, more on that if it develops. Here's another shaka.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know why we're a British tabloid all of a sudden. Let me see if I can make a pun out of this. I can't, but it involves tits somehow. Daniel Day-Lewis is quitting acting. He's
What
done.
the heck? What the heck, Daniel Day-Lewis?
He's done. He's 60 years old.
Okay.
He has given no reasons because he never does. He's very private about his personal life.
I mean, is this kind of like Sean Connery? Like, I'm done. I'm just done.
Yeah, only Sean Connery was kind of forced out.
You think so?
Yes. Because his movies were so bad. And also, I think it was just, I'm James Bond. Like, why do I have to keep saying, you're the man now, dog? Like, he doesn't...
Right.
He was in, like, LXG. He passed on Gandalf because he's like, this Lord of the Rings isn't going anywhere.
Right.
So he just made, like, a bunch of, like, really bad decisions in a row. And it's like, I'll just spend my money and beat women on my own time.
God.
And that's what Daniel Day-Lewis is going to do. No, I don't know. Yeah, I think, and if you're Daniel Day-Lewis, I should have looked up his accolades, but at least one Best Actor, 2 Best Actors?
At least one.
Didn't he get it for Lincoln? So we got My Left Foot.
I don't know.
I like how the second I say Daniel Day-Lewis, this is a behind-the-scenes look, audience, I could hear light tapping in Daniel Day-Lewis. Or, when we talked about Daniel Day-Lewis before the show, could have got the tab up ready. But she's always like, I don't know. And like being closer to a black hole, her speech slows down and her hand very slowly starts to touch the mouse. You don't really want to look it up, do you? Well, I don't either. He's won at least 2 Best Actor statues, I'm going to say. But he's only done 5 films in like the last 15 years. So he's very careful. One of them was 9 for some reason. So he's very careful about his projects. And his new project is, just screw this. I'm going to quit acting. Never going to get that Last of the Mohicans, too. It wasn't going to happen anyway. So, no opinion? Clearly no opinion.
I'm just kind of surprised, I guess, in a way. Although it shouldn't be that surprising, I guess. Like you said, he's only done a couple movies in the last couple years.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting to announce it. You know, like what if he changes his mind and we have a Brett Favre situation?
Oh. Lots of Anthony Hopkins unretired.
Sure.
Of course, now he's doing Transformers movies.
Yes.
So maybe he should have stuck with that one.
Yeah, maybe he should have.
I just like that. I want to. That's the Daniel Day-Lewis, the Brett Favre story. He could do it. Throws that ball, catches it himself.
There you go.
He could do it.
Yes.
A little CGI.
Sure.
Bring it. He doesn't look 60, but we'll bring it down a little bit. But yeah, buff him out a little. Give him a kind of honky-tonk kind of accent. That's what I want to see. Well, I know you want to see. You want to see the Downton Abbey movie that is producing or being filmed in 2018.
Yes, I do. I didn't know that this was happening.
What do you do? How do you...
I don't know.
Up the stakes. How do you make a Downton Abbey movie? You give the dog one F word. If it's PG-13. And how do you do it? Here's my thing. Bring Matthew back.
Bring Matthew back?
Yes.
How do you do that? Like a seance or something?
Any of the people who have died in... Ooh, actually, I like where you're going with this. Very popular in that era, mediums and spirituality. No, I mean, he just hit his head, and they told her he was dead. They buried a coffin. She didn't see what was in the coffin. Still alive. He comes in, and he is going to kick the crap out of... Matthew Good or whoever the guy that I hate is that ended up marrying what's her name.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
That's all I can. You need something epic.
Yeah, and I don't really know what else epic is going to be besides.
Well, it's not going to be. Are these pigs producing enough for this farm? Oh, I hope my newspaper circulation numbers go up.
I mean, I'm excited for this, but I didn't realize that we needed closure. I thought we had closure.
I thought we had closure like a season and a half before the show actually ended.
Sure.
They were just kind of stringing it along at that point, and that's why they brought...
yeah.
I keep calling him Matthew Good. I'm not going to look up his name. I hate him. Very not talented.
Mary's husband.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's like... They tease you, too, because it's like, I just can't stop driving race cars. And I'm like, good!
I know.
Good. She kicks him to the curb. Comes back.
I know.
Of course he comes back.
And of course she...
He's like the Mark Gaddis. He's like that. Your friend gets married.
Yes.
And you don't like her husband.
Yes.
And you're like, he's going to be at the cookout. But she loves... They're so in love.
I know.
They're so in love. And you're like, okay, keep being in love. Don't have any kids, and he'll die in a car crash at some point.
Right.
Go. You know what? You're such a good racer. Go faster. I can't help but slowing you down. I think it really is. Yeah. Anyway, other announcements of things that are coming up. The Punisher is rumored to hit Netflix on November 14th.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Looking forward to it?
Huh? Yes, I am.
I am because this is the living, walking, talking evidence that my opinion can be changed about things. Because I never liked John Barenthal. And I think the problem is that he's just never been directed well. And why can a TV director direct him better than a movie director? I don't know.
I don't know either.
I think that he's built a nice little reputation for himself as like a real method, like, character actor.
Sure.
For a guy who could be a lead. He's a young, nice-looking guy.
Yeah.
And he comes in, he's like, all right, I'm going to play it like this. Brr, brr, brr. And I think that a director just goes, all right, I didn't even have just cast it because you look good. I didn't even have an idea for you. Fine, you do your thing. And then later on you watch the movie and it's like, everybody fits in this except the one guy that's like, brr, 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 brr. You're making too many choices. You're swinging too hard. So he comes to the Punisher, and yeah, the Punisher is kind of like, get out of my way. He's really like kind of flat anyway, but he plays it real good.
He does.
And he does get to blow up once or twice. He gets his big scenes, but they kind of come at the right times. And so I hope that continues into... And I can only imagine that it will, because as he gets more guns, but as also he gets more into his fight against crime, he's going to be more in control of things. And there won't be any flip-outs about one batch, two batch, or whatever. It'll just be, say prayers, or whatever. So that's pretty good. And then one last piece of news. It looks like Dazzler is set to appear in X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Who is Dazzler going to be?
She's going to be the most exciting mutant since on roller skates from... No, I don't know.
Is she going to have sparklers and stuff like that?
Well, it's Jubilee's thing.
Oh.
Yeah, I was going to say, at this point, I'm actually more excited to possibly see Jubilee in a movie than Dazzler. But it's been rumored that she would be in basically like the last two up to this point.
Okay.
And hasn't really. She was in an Easter egg in a scene that I think was cut from the final draft of, or the final cut of Apocalypse.
Okay.
Where they're in the mall in the 80s segment, like the 80s montage segment. And they go to a record store and one of them's like, hey, they got the new Dazzler. And holds up a record and it's a picture of Dazzler that some people speculated was Taylor Swift, but it's not. It's an illustration that Bill Sienkiewicz did a long time ago that as a promo item, Marvel reprinted without telling him and without paying him and distributed it as a promo poster at San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh my gosh!
Yes!
That's terrible!
It's awful. Well, it's Marvel. It's awful.
I can't believe I did that to him.
And Bill Sienkiewicz was like, he wrote something about it, but I think he was appropriately angry. He was like, what the hell? Come on. Why?
If you're giving posters away and
Why would
everything,
you do this? Yes.
like you should give him a cut of that.
Or at least, don't airbrush my signature out off of the cover.
Oh, seriously.
Lady Gaga?
Ugh. You think so?
Oh, no. Come on. She's turning into a nice little thespian.
She is. Don't you think she would just kind of...
But she was born that way. Lay it on the thespian joke, sorry.
Like, take over...
I think that she's too big. Yeah, I think that she'd do fine, but I think that it would become a Lady Gaga movie. Now, if you want to do a Dazzler solo movie with Lady Gaga...
sure.
Fandango.com, I'll buy the tickets right now.
Sure.
Do you think that Taylor Swift, arguably a bigger star, would also derail the movie? Or could she be in a cameo and it'd be all right?
She could also derail the movie because she's not necessarily as strong of an actor.
Oh.
So.
No, she's not. But if she was just in a little movie where they're like, this concert's great. What? We can come backstage? And it's like...
It might be okay.
What's up, my peeps? I don't know. I haven't seen her act. She was in wasn't she in like a Gary Marshall movie? Valentine's Day or something like that?
Probably.
All I know is like she was game on her SNL episode, but way too big.
Sure.
They're like, oh, we're going to do this now. We're at a slumber party. Hey, everybody, I'm at a slumber party. Oh, let's braid each other's hair. Oh.
And somebody forgot to tell her,
you're
on TV.
Right, yeah.
This
the camera
is not
is right.
a theatrical
right.
event.
You don't have to. It's not the
You're
top
not
seat at the
playing
Silver
to
Dome.
exactly. To the nosebleeds.
Make me glow, 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 how far can you go? Make me glow, glow.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this corner, weighing. Tell me how fair. 372 pounds, with a combined weight of 372 pounds. Is that insulting, or did I nail it exactly? Anyway, doesn't matter.
Kind of insulting, but that's okay.
Hailing from the Twin Cities, Minnesota, the frozen north, Caliban and Mikan Hana. And in this corner, with a combined weight of 105 pounds. They're Hollywood actresses. Glow from Netflix, hailing from Netflix. Yes, that's right. It's the title fight between us and the new Netflix show, Glow.
Yes.
And I got to tell you, like most of wrestling, it's rigged. There's a storyline. And they're going to do a job for us on this one. I'll tell you that much. Not a big fan of the show. It is executive produced by Genji Kohan. Or Genji Kohan. I apologize if I can't say the name right. Let's say Kohan. And writer and creator of Weeds. Writer and creator of Orange is the New Black. Those sorts of shows.
Sure.
Very successful on Netflix. But not written by her. It's actually written by Liz Flahave, which I love her name. I'm not sure I'm saying that right either, but I want to say Flahave, and Carly Mensch.
Okay.
Who, I don't know what else they've done.
All right.
Some stuff. And it's starring Alison Brie, it stars Betty Gilpin, stars Mark Maron, and some other people
Sure.
that I don't really know. You probably don't know either.
No.
It is about, well, tell me what it's about.
It's basically there's this actress who is struggling to find work in the 80s, and she finds this opportunity to audition for Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, and she goes out for that and gets a part. And her best friend is a fairly successful actress who was on a soap opera beforehand, and turns out that Alison Brie has been sleeping with her husband.
She's played by Betty Gilpin.
Yes.
Who was in
American Gods.
American Gods, yeah, that's right. I think she was on Nurse Jackie, too.
Okay. And she ends up getting scouted by Mark Maron's character, who is in charge of Glow.
Right.
And so they're both going to be part of Glow. And comedy will ensue.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Solid premise, promise of comedy.
Yeah.
So where's the comedy?
I don't know.
I just don't. And I mean, this is going to be, you know what? We're the heels. This
Okay.
show is the face. It's got everything going for it, but like most faces, pretty empty and kind of misguided. It is a show that is nominally about female empowerment, and so therefore we have to cheer for it. It's the good guy.
Sure.
But we're going to point out that that's only really lip service, the female empowerment aspect of this.
Sure.
And I don't think it really is committed to that at all. I think it's kind of has the same mind as the promoter, played by Mark Maron, which is, I'm going to make a lot of money off of people watching these hot sluts tangle with each other.
Right.
And so we're going to be the heel, we're going to win, and people are going to love us like they like all good heels. Wrestling metaphor. I don't like Kohan shows generally because I feel like, yeah, all right, so what you're doing is you are filling the cast with female actors of varying races and varying orientations, and nothing could be better.
Sure.
But then I feel like the comedy that you find in these shows is based off of shock.
Yes. I would agree with you.
And there's
on
nothing
that.
wrong with shocking and offending people in comedy, but I just don't feel like there's anything else there. It's like, ooh, let's, do a thing with, oh, I'm going to call you a dyke. And the audience is going to go, oh, whoa. But it's like,
right.
Oh, so edgy. Or I'm going to use the N word. I guess I could have said the D word. I apologize for saying dyke. I feel like it's that sort of thing. And
yes.
I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of Orange is the New Black, but that's just kind of the impression that I get out of it. Like, it's first and foremost trying to be edgy, and there's nothing really
Right.
under it.
Right. Well,
Like the Hardy Boys.
the Hardy Boys.
I'll keep throwing wrestling stuff in, but you just keep.
Okay.
Don't let it break your stride.
Well, like for a good example of them trying to be edgy is they throw out. Well, Mark Maron calls miscarriage a womb goof.
That's a great example. That's a great example. That is absolutely something that's on a whiteboard. They go, well, she had a miscarriage, but let's think of something kind of fun and offensive. Come on.
Yeah.
And I guarantee after 15 minutes, womb goof was the first thing that was on that list.
Yeah.
Nothing else topped womb goof.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's sort of like it's offensive and lazy at the same time, but then another layer of offensive because it's lazy.
Yes.
And I see a lot of people, this thing is like in the 90s on Rotten Tomatoes. Like I see a lot of people being like, oh, Duclos, so great. And I'm just like, I hate to be the guy that says that the wrestler is not wearing a unitard, but I just don't see it. I mean, it's got elements that I like. I mean, I love 80s wrestling. I watched the original Glow, which this is very loosely based on, like in the 80s. Like, I would love to see this succeed. I like I like Mark Maron as a comic.
Right.
He's gotten a lot better as an actor, but it's like, I don't know. I mean, he's doing okay in this. I think there's characters. All the characters are like super flat. Even Ruth, who Alison Brie's character, main character, who is only defined by the fact that she is a mouthpiece for women of the 80s who are not getting enough recognition.
Sure.
The first time we see her, and this is in the trailer too, she goes and reads for this part at this audition, and she's like, "You can't take this from me," and it's like, and it's the guy's part.
Yeah.
Let's read the girl's part. Oh, your wife is online too. Okay, great.
Right.
That's how we get into the show. But she's just that the whole time.
Yeah.
Plus other things that are required in order for us to have conflict. So, like the guy from Mad Men is the husband of Betty Gilpin, who's a new mother. She slept with this guy. He comes in to see her again. He's like, "I need to sleep with you." She's like, "We can't do this, but let's do it." And then they do it.
I know.
Why?
Because we need to be shown, apparently.
Well, we need to see Alison Brie's boobs, I guess.
Because
it's a R-rated Netflix show. But it's already happened, and with good writing, you could make it so Ruth was in a bad place or was drunk or something like that. She made a mistake, and she's going to pay for that mistake. You can still get to exactly where you want to go,
right? With
them fighting for real in the wrestling ring, which is supposed to represent like them wrestling. But of course, finish first point. You could have done that without us having to do that again. Why would Ruth do it again?
I don't know why she
Unless
would
we're
do
going
it
to
again.
get more into like her self-destructiveness, but I just don't. She's too one note for me to believe in that right now. Fast forward to the end, where this is a show that, and first of all, we've watched the first 2 episodes. The show's half an hour long. That really feels like those first 2 episodes should have just been the hour pilot.
Yes,
because they're just too well connected.
I agree.
You should watch them both together if you're just going to try this out. Don't stop with the first one. But at the end of that first half-hour episode, you have Alison Brie and Betty Gilpin like pulling each other's hair, fighting in the ring, and then Mark Maron's like, that kind of makes me think of Maron. And then we flash forward to like this dream sequence where they're in full costume wrestling in front of a crowd, right?
Yeah.
In how I assume I'll never find out because I'm not going to watch the show. How it looks near the end of the show,
right?
My thing is, you blew it. Like you blew your reveal.
Yes.
There should be a thing where we build up to a point where they finally pull the bathing suits on or whatever, put the green eyeliner or green eyeshadow on,
yes,
and go through 3 cans of hairspray and come out like and then play the sweet song or whatever, and it's like, whoa,
right,
this is what a transformation
looks like.
That's not what happened though. You gave it away already.
Yeah, I know.
Also, the wrestling guy that they have on set to like help them wrestle, he fires him the first day. The character's name is Salty the Sack Johnson, and I'm like, are you 5? Like, that's funny, I guess.
Right.
I guess that's funny.
That's another I'm being transgressive sort of thing.
Is Alison Brie a good actress?
I don't know the answer to that. To be
know
perfectly honest, like I liked her on Community, but I liked a lot of people on Community, and then I see them in other things, and I'm not sure.
Oh well, she's more than the sum of its parts.
Yeah,
yeah. She is like the female John Bernthal, I think.
Okay.
Because I feel like she is always finding her way into these roles that are definitely have comedy, because that's where she came up and she's got comedy chops.
Sure.
But there's also some point in the comedy where she's like, and he told me, that I was... It's like,
Yeah.
why do we need this part?
I don't know.
You're funny, or just be in a World War II drama or something like that.
Sure.
She keeps trying to show us her full range, like she's auditioning for us, like at the beginning of this show. So, yeah. And also, Mark Maron does cocaine, because it's the 80s.
Yeah, there's a lot of sniffing on his part.
Do you have any last thoughts about it?
I really thought the whole thing about the miscarriage and the one character, like, in the second episode... pretends like she's had
they're
miscarriage,
ladies, and so the conflict between them is going to have to involve their reproductive organs somehow.
which just annoys the crap out of me.
LCD. It's not a watch. It's lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has to do with what I call the transgressive property of comedy.
Well, it just wasn't funny, I didn't think. And I think it was supposed to be funny.
Yeah, that's something else. I'm cool with shows that are ostensibly comedies taking a long time to make a point or do something else and not really being funny. But you always know when a show thinks it's being funny. And when it's not, you're failing.
Right.
And they do something like he's insulting Alison Brie and he's like, look at her hair. It's brown. It's like the color of shit. And we could have just moved on. And the show made this joke, not Mark Maron's character. The show cuts to the one Indian girl in the collection of girls who's had only like one line in the entire episode so far.
Right.
Who is colloquially a brown person. And then she's like, fuck you, show.
Right.
Fuck you. What's the point?
I don't know.
Not funny.
I don't know what the point is.
So, neither of us would recommend this. Oh, also, their musical choices are lazy. Again, we're in a writer's room. Guys, 80s music. What a cornucopia. This is going to be fantastic. Let's throw some things out. The first thing they wrote down was Warrior.
Sure.
The very first thing they wrote down was that. They never, ever got anything else that sounded good to them. And that is the first thing that anybody would expect.
Right.
And then, like, the closing theme, I think, is like, rock you like a hurricane. It's
sure.
Like, oh, it's so lazy.
I know.
At least they didn't go with the typical list of, like, strip club songs. That would have been. No cherry pie in this one. Yeah. So neither of us would recommend it. How do you want it to go out? What are you going to do to it?
I'm going to punch it in the face or maybe slam it with a chair.
Nice chair shot. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the only thing I can say is get the tables. Well, from getting the tables to getting out. God damn it, I'm good at this. Let's talk about Get Out. Get Out. No, Get Out. Also high on Rotten Tomatoes, 99% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Where does the film get its name, do you think?
A character tells another character to get out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
That's what happens.
Okay.
Did you watch that movie?
Yeah.
You seen it?
I seen it.
Oh, you seen it? Yeah.
Okay.
It's very successful. It cost not a lot.
No.
I'm guessing, and it's made over like $100 million. It's like, who knows? All kinds of records are being broken these days, but it's one of the most successful low-budget movies ever.
Yes.
I think it might have beaten Blair Witch at its own game.
Yes.
And it's one of the most successful low-budget R-rated movies ever. Did you think this had to be rated R?
It gets pretty violent, so...
Yeah, I suppose. But, I mean, so do PG-13 movies. I don't think you can make a horror movie without it being rated R, but I thought there's a pretty good PG-13 like TV cut of this in there somewhere.
That's true.
This is going to run on TNT forever.
Sure.
Because of its racial politics? I don't understand. That's not even a joke. I don't know why I said that. Yeah, what's the story?
Well, Basically,
Good start.
it follows an interracial couple,
Chris
and
Marnie.
Rose, and Chris is going to go with Rose to visit her family for the weekend, up north, and her family's fairly well off, and they're in this wealthy area.
Yeah.
That's pretty secluded. So they go up there, and they have a couple of servants who happen to be black.
Right. Yeah. Good start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the servants kind of act weird, and he doesn't really know what's up with that.
Right.
He thinks that we might have a problem with him or something, for some reason. And he just kind of gets weirded out by a lot of little things here and there. The mom, the first night, he goes out and has a cigarette, and the mom invites him in to talk, and she ends up hypnotizing him.
Yeah, she's a hypnotherapist.
Yes. And
To stop smoking.
yes. And then he wakes up in a sweat in the bed like the next morning.
Right.
And then there's like this huge gathering that they have with all their friends.
Oh, they're rich white friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's this guy there who happens to be black, who is married to this older white woman. And Chris goes up to him and starts talking to him and gets kind of weirded out by him as well.
Right.
Because he's acting weird. And it's not just like this guy is acting like a white guy. It's like this guy is odd. There's something off.
Yeah.
Later, he gets asked some ridiculous questions by people.
There's a lot of ridiculous questions.
Yeah. Like, what it's like to be African American these days.
Yeah, tell us
That
about the
sort of
African
thing.
American experience.
Yeah. Represent your entire race.
Right.
Go.
And he's like, yeah, I don't know, I'm going to let you take that one. He's
Yes.
talking about the other black guy.
And then he takes a photo of him, and the guy goes nuts and attacks him and says, "Get out."
Right. So it's played by Sean Penn.
Yeah.
Right. Took a little while.
And
Or Alec Baldwin.
sure.
And they don't know what. I'm gonna stop you right there
Okay.
because I don't think we should spoil anything,
All right.
even though this movie's been out forever.
Yeah.
In our Cheapskate review segment. Yeah, I think that's a good setup.
Yeah.
Well, that's a solid premise with a promise of horror,
Yeah.
but also comedy.
Yes.
This movie's funny.
It is funny.
I don't think that. I mean, Chris doesn't really deliver. He's not driving a lot of the comedy. I think a lot of the comedy is driven by his friend.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Played by Lil Ray Howery, Rod. And a lot of people say, all right, so anyway, let's get into the complicated stuff. But first, would you recommend it?
I
We're
would
going that
definitely
fast.
recommend it.
I would as well.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about complicated racial stuff that we have no right or business talking about.
All right. Let's do it.
I've heard a lot of people say that this is a great commentary on the black experience, or at least how black people act and feel they have to act outside of environments where they feel comfortable, aka, white spaces.
Sure.
And I would agree tacitly, again, with no authority to speak. I think that it is mainly just a tight, fun little movie that has a couple good points to make. But I don't think that the entire thing stacks up to some great treatise, by a black filmmaker.
Sure.
Maybe it doesn't have to be like, in the end it's like, 'twas beautiful to be. Like, maybe they don't have to state their theme, get real serious about it.
Right.
It is a commentary, but I think its strength is in how entertaining it is. And also it's got some commentary.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
We both agree that genre can comment as well, if not better, on social issues than plain old vanilla wheat bran fiction.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
So do you think that the horror settings or the again, we don't want to ruin anything, but the not normal storytelling aspects of it enhance those messages or hurt them?
I think they enhance them. You get a lot of flavor of like Stepford Wives from, I think, this film. Yeah. In general.
Yeah. I think they hurt them.
You think they hurt them?
Yeah, I think that you could make if Judd Apatow was black, these are the kind of movies he'd be making. Like if you were a black Judd Apatow, you could make a movie about a black guy with a rich white girlfriend who they go to the Hamptons or whatever, to meet her family over the weekend.
Sure.
And you couldn't have the sort of sci-fi horror, plot and wrap up, but you could do like a kind of updated Guess Who's Coming to Dinner type thing that would have more to say about that than just here's some good ideas, but now we got to get into the adventure part of the action.
Sure.
I don't know why I'm making such a big deal out of this because it did make some really good points. I liked. Here are the good points. The movie opens with a character who we may or may not get to know later on in the movie, who's a young black man, and he's walking through a sort of affluent, presumably white neighborhood.
Right.
And he's not happy. He's a little nervous.
Yep.
And he's kind of talking to himself in the way that a movie character does. I think nobody really talks to themselves that much, but he's kind of like, oh boy, how did I get here? Like I must be lost. He's trying to find somebody's house, and then like a car pulls by, and he's like, yeah, just keep going. Everything's fine. Fine. The car turns around, and he's like, oh okay, oh no, nope, not me, not tonight.
Right.
Nope, I'm gonna go the other way. Things like that, and I really liked how, first of all, Daniel Kaluuya, the guy that plays or
Chris.
Kaluuya, yeah, the guy that plays Chris, fantastic, great,
yes,
best part of the movie. Alison Williams, not bad.
Yeah.
I thought I hated her. Turns out I just hate Marnie. She was great. She was really good. And Bradley Whitford was great. Catherine Keener's great. I mean, it's an awesome cast.
Yeah.
But I really liked how he played him very sort of subtly, kind of soft-spoken. And you're not sure if that's him or just the him that he decides to be as a black man who has to interact with a whole bunch of white people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because he's kind of like overwhelmed.
Well, yeah, but he's also, he's code switching. He's also being, a nice, not very loud, because white people are really scared when they hear a loud black voice. You know what I mean? Like he's being like, yeah, okay, I'm the boyfriend. And later on he calls Rod and he's like, these people are crazy. Like, let me tell you all this stuff that's happening.
Right.
And Rod's like, it's a sex cult. You got to get out of there. And he's much more, expressive. And then somebody else comes up and he's like, oh, yeah, yep, okay, all right.
No, you're right. He is much more expressive. When
that
he
was the
talks
best part of the commentary, I thought, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it's like, all right, so that's what the secret of the movie is? Why are they doing that?
I don't know.
And then I feel like the people who are doing it don't really have an answer, except, yeah, it's a movie.
Well,
also the TSA, very powerful in this film.
Very powerful.
Last thought.
I thought that Alison Williams did a really good job, and the reveal that comes later is kind of. It's a good twist, I think.
Yeah, it is. I think that it's mostly solid.
Yeah.
Let me explain what I mean. I thought this movie was really predictable.
Okay.
I predicted pretty much every major plot point, and to be fair, it's kind of my fault because it's not that it wasn't engrossing, but I figured out one or two things, and I thought, I'm going to sit here and see if I can just break the entire thing down, and I did pretty much. Except for one thing that I thought was going to happen at the end, and it turns out that Jordan Peele specifically was going to do that, but he changed it because he thought it wouldn't be right. And I don't want to ruin it. Just watch it. You'll probably figure out what it is. That being said, I didn't think that I don't mind knowing what's going to happen. Sometimes I just like watching it happen.
Sure.
So that was fine. But once you start pulling at the threads, some of them don't make sense. And don't get me wrong, this is a million times more airtight than any script from any other Blumhouse film that's come out ever. Sorry, C. Robert Cargill, like Sinister or whatever. Like, this thing has a lot of connections and it's very internally consistent. But there are a couple things that if you want to be a tight puzzle box thriller, why this? And why did this character not do this?
Sure.
Why did this happen? And there are things that you might say are unanswered questions, but I say are plot holes is the term.
Sure.
Which is fine. That's, there's damning with faint praise and there's praising with faint damn. You know what I mean? Like these are tiny little sort of complaints, nits to pick.
Sure.
For a guy who first time out directing, first movie script.
Yep.
Directing his own script. So I would give it like a solid carved into stone B. Like very much enjoyed it. Wasn't totally blown away, but the B is for but. Totally want to see what he's got next, and I'll be the first in line to see, the next Jordan Peele movie for sure.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think this is a solid first directorial debut.
Yeah, for sure. So get out and go to the Red Box so you can get the movie, and then get back in and watch it. It's available on DVD and Blu-ray. Get out. Have you heard of the School of Corman?
No, I haven't. What is the School of Corman?
It's the school
Of Corman?
where Corman teaches.
Oh.
Roger Corman, famous low-budget filmmaker. I don't know if... Remember Bowfinger?
Yes, I
I
do.
don't know if that character is based... Probably a couple different people sort of inspired characters like that. But yeah, it's kind of that. Let's just let's make this movie... Let's see how few people we can pay for it and how little it can cost and how much we can make. And that's kind of Roger Corman. It's not like the Golden Globus thing we talked about before where they were, Israeli filmmakers who thought we could get to Hollywood and then we could really make a lot of money.
Sure.
Bilking people over a Spider-Man movie or whatever that never gets made. Yeah, Roger Corman's just making movies. And so a lot of young stars who like, for instance, Ruth and Glow.
Right.
All internally consistent in our show. Will just take whatever job they can. You'd really love to get coffee for Steven Spielberg, but maybe you're going to be building sets for Roger Corman.
Sure.
And so a lot of people who turned into large, successful stars came through Corman Productions.
Yes.
They worked for Corman at some point. And
Absolutely.
This is where I read you the list, which I don't have. So I'll just anecdotally say Jack Nicholson.
Sure.
An example. He was in Corman's Little Shop of Horrors.
Sure.
He played the patient, the dentist's patient part, the masochist guy. And in this case, I bring it up this time because James Cameron. And also, to a degree, Gail Ann Hurd, the very successful producer, came through as well. They both worked on this film. They met on this film. Fell in love somehow on this film and were married and produced several, most of Cameron's great 80s movies, and then fell out of love, as everybody did with Cameron, on the set of The Abyss. And that was that. But it was a great partnership while it lasted. Yeah, they both worked on this film. And so we're going to, is it Barry or Praise? We're going to say a lot about Roger Corman, or at least his film, in the next few minutes.
Sure.
But we will definitely... wanted to point out that I think that he's done a lot for cinema and for Hollywood.
Yeah. No, I think he definitely has.
And Hollywood's done a lot for him with all the things that he's ripped off from more successful blockbusters. Enter Battle Beyond the Stars.
Yes.
Made in 1980, cost $2 million.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, does this look like a $2 million movie?
No.
It doesn't look great, but it looks like it's more than $2 million.
Yeah, it does. Maybe that's in part to...
Were any of those people getting blown up by the robot soldiers at the end making any money at all, do you think?
I don't know.
Was it all like college credit or just, I got to be in a movie? Because people are getting blown up left and right. We never know their names, and I seriously doubt. Did the little Heat guys get paid at all? That's what I want to know.
Oh, I hope so.
Yes. They got paid in...
Hot dogs?
Yeah, right. Dogs. Oh, those are the other guys.
Oh, okay.
What do you feed a heat guy? Matches, kerosene, I don't know. Yeah. Battle Beyond the Stars is basically just... There's a lot of Star Wars. We all know that Star Wars was sort of based on a lot of old Kurosawa movies.
Absolutely.
Yes. And so it's an old thing to like take an old type of story and make it into a new thing, no problem. But if you take a movie that came out only 10, 15 years ago,
Yep.
The Magnificent Seven, and you just give everybody a ray gun, is that theft?
Or is that homage?
Is it theft or homage if The Magnificent Seven is also based on the movie that came out 10 or 15 years before it called The Seven Samurai?
Right.
So I think that's called the Corman defense. That's just like, what? Somebody else did it? What? But that's basically the story here. It starts on the planet of Akir, and a young man named Shad, played by Richard Thomas. I realized something in this movie. Richard Thomas is a really good actor.
Okay.
I don't know why I have ever questioned that. I think he's either playing these kind of earnest roles, like John Boy in The Waltons, or now that he's older, he's playing like these kind of, treacherous old man kind of roles, like his stuff in The Americans. And maybe it's just like his very kind of guileless, sort of open like presentation, like his portrayal, has made me think like, well, there's not a lot happening here. But I don't think that's true at all. I think that there's a value and there's a strength in being the Luke Skywalker type.
Sure.
It's often an unsung part, but just being that guy that has to be kind of the dumb, innocent guy, who gets smarter and develops, as a hero as it goes on. Yeah, I think he just does a really good job. I think he's a really good actor.
All right.
That's all I wanted to say.
Okay.
There's a lot of actors in this.
There are a lot
who
of
are
actors
both good
in
and
this.
not good.
Yeah.
The inimitable John Saxon is in this film.
Yeah.
Star of many C.D. movie, probably some of the Corman movies, is in this as Sador, the evil emperor. And he doesn't actually get to do a whole lot. He's got a great scene where he gets a robot arm attached to him, and then he's got to cut off that robot arm. We're getting ahead of ourselves. George Peppard is in this and is drunk, probably for real. George Peppard, of course, from Breakfast at Tiffany's, the A-Team.
Sure.
Been around for a long time. And Robert Vaughn is in this. And I think pretty much most of the money of that $2 million went to getting Robert Vaughn and George Peppard in this movie.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah. Robert Vaughn plays a cold-blooded killer, sort of mercenary character.
Yes.
That is essentially the same character that he played in The Magnificent Seven. So I think your Corman defense sort of falls apart when you're just going, well, yeah, we just did that. Homage. Yeah, it's a double homage. Doubling down on the homage. So, yeah, did we talk about what happens in the movie? I mean, we already said it's Seven Samurai or Magnificent Seven.
So, Sador basically has this weapon that can turn planets into stars.
Yeah, the stellar compactor or
converter,
whatever. Yeah, converter.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And he's threatened this planet of Akir.
Yeah, and the people who live on Akir are called the Akira.
And that is an homage to Akira Kurosawa.
What? Somebody else did it? What?
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, Shad goes out in search of mercenaries.
Yes.
And ends up coming back with...
In his boob ship.
Called
Nell. And I'm trying to figure out what that is.
Like what that stands for?
Yeah, if it's like... Oh, boy. Should we do a Nell 3 trailer?
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, we'll wait on it. Like, if it's an anagram or... I wasn't paying attention. Anyway.
I'm not sure.
Ship's got boobs.
Yes, it does.
Thanks, James Cameron.
Which is kind of disturbing.
Yeah. James Cameron, I should mention, was the effects and art director on this.
Yeah.
So he basically designed pretty much all the stuff, and then pretty much just, I'd like to imagine he had a crew, but he probably rigged all the explosions and effects himself for the most part. Yeah, so he was sort of behind all of that.
And the effects were pretty
very bad.
Amazing.
Especially
for
that one
time.
where the guy eats the hot dog and they all eat it. I don't know how they did that. So keep telling the story.
So he goes out in search of mercenaries and ends up coming back with a total of 7 ships.
Right.
So
what?
Yeah, and that's including his own. Oh, and Space Cowboy.
Yes.
He has a shipment of weapons, I believe guns, that were bought and paid for by this planet that was turned into a star.
It's real
by
convenient.
Sador.
Yeah, it's real convenient.
So that can go to the Akira. And
So they got guns, they just got nobody to use them.
yes.
So they
And
have to
he's
train the
gonna
people how to...
to teach them
Sure.
how to use them.
And interestingly, I think, enough, he is from Earth.
Yes.
This isn't some galaxy far away. Like, Earth exists in this galaxy.
Yes.
But this movie just doesn't take place on it. And there's this
No.
one character who's got a rebel flag, like, on his ship, and calls himself cowboy, dresses like a cowboy, and he represents all of Earth.
Yes.
And he's
pretty
got
much.
and he's got a Scotch and soda belt.
Yes.
Which
is pretty amazing.
those have to exist. Sky Mall, that's got to exist, right? Somewhere. But at least the best line in the movie, or one of the best, is when the whole movie he can dispense scotch and then soda and then like ice from the belt buckle into this thing.
Yes.
And they're getting ready to fight because Sador's coming to destroy the planet, and things aren't going well. And then he pours himself some scotch and drinks it. And the girl's like, "You forgot the soda." And he's like, "No, I didn't." Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, so he goes out on this adventure. He collects all these guys. Did you mention Cayman? Oh, no, wait,
No.
we didn't. We forgot the very first step. So he's got this mentor
Yes.
on the planet who is sort of like the defender of the planet. Here's the thing about the Akir. They follow this philosophy called like the Varda. And so they're basically like farmers / hippies. Like
They're
don't,
peaceful.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to defend themselves.
Yeah.
But they do have like one guy on the planet who's sort of their defender or whatever. This would be like the Jedi ripoff
Sure.
type thing. What? It's like samurai. Yeah, right. So this guy is sort of the blind sort of mentor to Shad or whatever, and he's too old, so he sends Shad off in the ship, and he's going to go visit Dr. Hephaestus,
Yes.
who lives in this like space station somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and see if they can get his help. And he goes and sees Dr. Hephaestus. Turns out Dr. Hephaestus not the same as he used to be.
No.
He is a robot body with like a head.
Yep.
He's like a cyborg.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got all these like robots in his station.
That's right.
And he's got a daughter named Nenalia,
Mm-hmm.
played by Darlene Flugel, who's sort of the romantic interest, basically.
Yes.
And Shad, he's gonna force him to marry his daughter,
And mate.
and then do God knows what to them both, probably turn them into robots or something. So they like escape basically, and it's kind of one of those. It's like a myth thing, I guess. Although they're not hiding it very well because, Perseus or whoever it is has to go out and collect the people or the items that he needs to defeat the thing. So he literally goes to a space station where Hephaestus, the Greek god of making and constructing things,
Right.
lives. Yeah, and so, we get it. It's fine. And so, he does that. He picks up Nelia, who sadly not very useful. I feel like she does a whole lot
She doesn't
throughout
do
the
a
movie.
whole lot.
No.
No.
And then he goes on these other adventures. Yeah, he picks up Space Cowboy. He meets... at some point, she gets captured by Cayman,
Yes.
who is this lizard alien who's like a slaver. Well, that's one of our heroes.
Yeah. Well, he hates Sador. So.
But he hates Sador. And he's got two little heat friends.
Yes.
What the heck?
I know.
And then he meets they're just... One thing you have to love about this movie is that, it copies some stuff, but it's not following a script, perhaps literally, but it's not really following
Right.
any script about where the influence... He's just taking things from everywhere. So he meets Nestor, which is like this shared consciousness of like these 5 different like white-faced guys.
Right.
Who fly this glowing UFO. All the
Right.
ships very different and interesting in their designs. So good job, Cameron, there. And they're basically like, we want to help you. It's like, why? Well, we're bored. Come on aboard. All right, great. And then finally they go find Gelt, played by Robert Vaughn. I mean, this is no big revelation, but I think he's my favorite part of the movie.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, he's really cool. He's like the best assassin in the galaxy,
Yes.
but he has assassined so many times that like basically everybody in the universe is mad at him.
Yeah.
And so now he lives on this like burned out planet hiding, essentially just living out his days and like smoking every once in a while. Whoever tries to come like kill him and collect on the bounty.
Right.
And so there's this sort of there's line of development where he's like, I've been living here. It's horrible. And I've been eating snakes for dinner, like 7 days a week. And Shad's like, well, we got food on a cure. We'll feed you. And he's like,
right.
All right, I'll do it. Not for the money, for the food, for the meal. And, spoiler alert, later on in the final showdown, his ship crashes and he dies. And it leads to the point where they're like, oh, he's dead. And they're like, should we bury him? Yeah, bury him with a full meal, a full course meal.
Sure.
And I'm like, why? He's like, that's
what he would have wanted.
Deal. Right, exactly. Yeah. I don't know. Are you really going to bury somebody with a hamburger and fries? Don't forget the shake. Shamrock. But I just think that's neat. In a movie that that people didn't call crappy for other reasons, that would stand out. If that was in the Han Solo movie, somebody would think that was awesome.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, boy. I think the Han Solo movie is going to be better than this movie.
I don't know.
I don't know either. We forgot Saint XMen.
Saint XMen?
Yeah. Saint XMen, played by Sybil Danning. She's the the Valkyrie.
Who comes in at the very end, and Shad is incredibly annoyed with her.
Yep. She just walks off the heavy metal cover and into her spaceship, and then, and I'm surprised her spaceship isn't, like, shaped like a dildo or something. Because everything else is, but yeah, she's part of a warrior race, and Sybil Danning does okay. I don't feel like this movie adds anything to the warrior race argument.
No.
That's kind of become, we all know Klingons and everything else, and that's kind of what she is.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Neat costume, though.
Yeah. A couple of different costumes.
So yeah, she actually does. She doesn't change as much as Star. What's her name? In Star Crash.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's the whole crew. So they all come back. Sador is on his way back. They have a little space battle with him, like before they get back to the planet, which is when things kind of go down. Sador is wounded, and they capture one of the Nestor, and he cuts off his arm.
Yes.
And grafts it to his own body. So he's like, oh, yeah, because the whole time he's been in this cast. We don't really know why. Some old war wound. So he's got this great robot arm. But, of course, the Nestor all share the same senses and same, like, motor skills and stuff.
Sure.
So they all do this thing where they, do this knife drawing. I guess they knew he had a knife. Knife drawing motion. And he's like, yeah, I love my new arm. I don't know what's it doing. It's picking up a knife. Oh, it's trying to slit my throat. Quickly. Quickly. And then the pigman doctor guy has to cut it off without anesthesia.
Yes.
Guy's got balls.
Yeah.
You got to admire Sador for that.
You have to. What does he do after that with his arm? Does he just
after
not
that,
have
it's
an
just,
arm?
Yeah, he just, it's, the right side of his coat is bulkier than the left side because that's where his arm is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
Awesome.
So, the last, maybe half an hour is just all action after that. Sador attacks the planet. He sends his troops down, so they've got to fight the troops, and they're kind of outmatched. They've got tanks, the bad guys, and all this stuff. And then there's a space battle, too, which is essentially, let's see, that shot of Nell sort of banking towards the camera about 15 times. Uh-huh. And then the shot of the Valkyrie ship coming over the asteroid about 17 times. And then the same explosion effect of the bad guy's ships going up. And that one bad guy pilot, apparently the fire button is over his left shoulder because he keeps excitedly tapping this button. He's like, oh, tap, 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 tap. And that's how he shoots, I guess. Anyway. But they pretty much win the space battle. They get knocked out to varying degrees. We lose Space Cowboy in a sort of sacrificial move. Like we said, Geld's already gone. Nestor gets blown up. And the Valkyrie dies. I mean, they all get... You don't have to pay him.
No.
Meals for everybody.
Right.
The kitchen's going to be really busy tonight. But yeah, they triumph. Sador is trying to activate his weapon. It's a very Star Wars-y sort of thing.
Right.
They have to crash Nell sort of into the big ship, and her memory bank gets affected. So she's like, "Who am I? Where am I? Is that how a memory bank works?
I don't
know. Is that what that means?"
That's how they decided it works in this movie.
Did she also lose all of her money if her memory bank was robbed. Anyway. So they fly her into, or she's being tractor beamed or whatever into the main ship, and they set it to self-destruct. And she does. And there's a great bit at the end when he and Nenelia, Shad and Nenelia, are trying to escape Nell, and they're kind of saying their goodbyes because they become friends. You know, this is like their Pegasus, if it's a myth. This is the magical vehicle that has taken them around, you know, and she barely remembers who he is because, of course, she doesn't have her memory. And she's like, I'll start the countdown. 10, 14, 23.
I know.
4. It's like, what? Oh, that's a good bit. Yeah, and then she blows up. And of course, it blows up Sador and everybody else, and they go back down, and presumably they'll get to Bone now, and Akira is safe.
Right. To live another day.
Yes. Those little heat guys are probably around somewhere.
Heating up hot dogs.
You're right. They're going to make hot dogs for everybody. You ever seen this before?
I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
No,
I'm not
this
surprised.
was a brand new experience for me.
A lot of people's favorite movie.
Really?
Yeah. They make up the 45%, I would guess.
Okay, I would guess so. It seems very linear in a lot of ways. You know, and very simplistic in some ways. Like, Shad, okay, you're going to go out and you're going to get some mercenaries. You got the mercenaries? Okay, check. Now you're going to come back and you're going to fight.
Yeah, sure. And then it's like, okay, you've got the mercenaries. Now they're going to die? Check, 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 check.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. It seems a little predictable in some ways. And maybe that's the homage to the other films.
Yeah. I mean, you say predictable, I say dominoes that are set up will inevitably fall.
Sure.
And they will fall in order.
Sure.
Unless your memory banks are damaged. I don't think that's... Yeah, I agree with those things that you brought up. I don't think that those are detractions at all, though.
Okay. I felt like it was a little boring.
Whoa! Really?
Yes.
Why? They're going to hate me for not liking Glow. They're going to hate you for not liking Battle Behind the Stars.
I just thought that, like, it could have had something a little extra, you know, while he was searching for the ships and everything. It seemed very much like dry and like we're checking off how many ships we've found and everything.
Yeah. But then again, the old Greek myths were not necessarily big on character development.
That's
You'd have
true.
a character who, just by nature of his existence, you know, has some quality about him. And because he has that quality, usually because he's Zeus's kid, he's
Right.
a demigod or something, he goes out and, of course, he gets the job done. He just goes bing, 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 takes it out.
Right.
And it's not like he learns some great lesson or learns that Sador is his father or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. I think in taking the structure of the Greek myth, they forgot to add the postmodern elements, which is we want to see a character for sort of develop.
Yes.
We get that in part with a character like Gelt or even Space Cowboy in a way.
In a
Because
way.
both of them are people who have sort of resigned to be the sort of fading things that they are, and then they turn it around and go, no, we're going to do this instead.
Right.
I don't need ice for this scotch.
That's true. I just would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that, I think.
And then Shad and Nenelia learn to love.
Yes, they do.
There's this whole side... Well, there's a couple scenes, but there's this whole side scene where it's like, do your people do it?
Yeah.
More or
it's
less.
like,
And he's like,
what?
yeah, well, we do it.
Yeah.
Shall
exactly.
we do it? Yeah, all right. Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah.
And then it gets postponed.
Well, yeah, of course.
Well, they have this one scene where they kiss kind of awkwardly. And then...
I think that's that same scene.
Yeah. And then later they kiss again, and it doesn't seem as effective.
Now they're getting the hang of it.
It's almost like... I feel like before there should have been more tension between the two of them. And so then when they finally do kiss, it's more of like, oh, wow, look at that. Quite the accomplishment.
You
know,
half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder. That sort of thing. Yeah. I don't disagree. I think that the formula was definitely perfected the same year with The Empire Strikes Back.
Sure.
Which, this was developed thinking about Star Wars, not even anticipating Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
Would you recommend this?
I would recommend this.
Oh, really? I thought you did not like it.
Well, I would recommend it if you're into space operas and you kind of want to see them all.
We can't. Every single recommendation can't be if you're a completionist. Get back out.
Okay. Well, maybe I would just tentatively recommend this then. If you're into Star Wars, I think you'd probably like this to some extent. It has a lot of the elements that Star Wars has, but it's just not quite as exciting.
I think you're wrong.
You do?
I think it's exciting.
Okay.
Sure it is.
All right.
There's a thing when you, and we've learned this watching a lot of bad movies, when you're watching bad movies that you have to kind of get over that you're watching a bad movie. Unless that's its only good sort of quality.
Sure.
You're watching The Room, you're really just kind of watching it because it's a bad movie, right?
Right.
But some quote-unquote bad movies, if you forget the fact you're like, oh boy, this thing cost too. Where'd he steal those hot dogs from? He didn't pay for those. If you kind of get over that and you just sort of get into what's going on, I think that, you can kind of get into it.
Sure.
I think this movie works that way. I think you can watch it as a bad movie. And I think if you just kind of forget about that and you enjoy a lot of the really imaginative designs and some of the good character work by Robert Vaughn and George Peppard and even, like I said, Richard Thomas before.
Sure.
I think it can be enjoyed both ways.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would absolutely recommend this. For sure. Even if you want to see where, again, the Corman School ply its trade and where
Sure.
somebody like James Cameron got his start. And, yeah, I think that this was, sure, ripping something off, but it was also the seed for its own sort of thing.
Okay.
What are we doing next? I'm going to tell you. We are looking at the release of Spider-Man.
Yes.
Homecoming coming up. This will be about it's the same weekend that we're at CVG.
Yes.
So we'll try to have a review of Spider-Man. I'm not sure how we're going to see Spider-Man when we're at the con, but we'll do our best. But specifically, I wanted to do a movie that had something to do with the players who are in Spider-Man.
Okay.
And so let's do Tom Holland. Well, it's tough.
Yeah.
Civil
See,
War.
What else has he been in?
Right, yeah. So I thought, let's reach a little deeper. There's a guy named Michael Keaton in this movie who's been in quite a lot of films.
Yes.
And you can look at his resume. He's been in a lot of good films. He has been in some bad films.
Sure.
But we're trying to find movies that fit the criteria of being something that was either remembered well or a huge flop, and something that has, we're a genre show. It's about sci-fi fantasy, right?
Right.
Through those criteria, I came up with Multiplicity.
Oh, my goodness.
Michael Keaton in Multiplicity, a
Oh my
movie that
goodness.
was supposed to be like his big comeback. Not so much. It's a movie where he clones himself. That's all you need to know.
Right.
And it's 44% on Rotten Tomatoes. So not awful.
No.
Although Battle Beyond the Stars is 1% higher.
Higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we'll do. He's playing the Vulture, the bad guy in Spider-Man Homecoming. He plays himself and himself and himself and himself in Multiplicity. Not himself, Michael Keaton. That'd be awesome. I get to be in Birdman. No, I'm in Birdman. He could switch off parts every night.
There you go.
Yeah, but anyway, Multiplicity next time in 2 weeks when we do Craft Disservices. All right, we did it. We got through it. Battle Beyond the Stars. We did that because it's a space opera, and space fiction is the theme of this year's CONvergence. CVG 2017 to Infinity and Beyond.
Right.
Trademarked Disney Company, 1995. And so we are talking to some of the guests that will be there, the guests of honor, people who have been selected for their notoriety. Gets a bad name, don't you think?
Yeah, I do.
I don't want to say famousness. The word is notoriety.
Sure.
But it seems like it's such a negative word. But anyway, these are famous people, important people who have worked on a lot of space opera-y or space fiction-y kind of things. We're going to talk to Christopher Carter, who is a composer in Hollywood, most famously the composer of, or a longtime composer for Bruce Timmverse shows, Batman the Animated Series, I think The Batman, Justice League, and Justice League Unlimited.
Sure.
A lot of work. If you've ever enjoyed any kind of those DC animated cartoons, you know his work. He has scored those for a long time. We're also talking to Norman Cates, who is a special effects designer for the Weta Workshop, and yes, worked on the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit films.
Sure.
Got a lot of questions for him. A lot of questions for him about all kinds of stuff. Mostly whether the toothbrush fence is still up. I don't know. We got to think of New Zealand questions, but that aren't Flight of the Conchords related for that. We're talking to Eric Chu, who is a production designer and also effects guy in Hollywood and on Hollywood TV shows. Probably most famously known as the guy who redesigned the Cylons for the 2004 Battlestar Galactica remake.
Yes.
We keep talking to all these people who are like Ronald D. Moore adjacent. And if we really want to get to the business of star effing on Ronald D. Moore, we gotta go right in.
Yeah, you're right about that.
I feel like Ronald D. Moore is a guy who, if he was not on the way to something, and he probably would because he's super busy, he would do an interview. If you went, hey Ron, can I talk to you for 5 minutes about whatever?
Sure.
I think he would totally do it. But how do you make that happen? And so I'm going to ask Eric Chu about that. No, I'm not really. I think our best bet would be Lynn Thomas.
You think so?
Yeah, she's a huge Outlander fan, and she has a sort of bit of notoriety and cachet herself. And so
that's true.
I feel if we followed her around and she went to a con that Ronald D. Moore was at, they would definitely have a conversation, and then we pull right up. Pull up there, baby. And then we're in there. Bam. Excuse me. I'd like to talk about Cylons, please. Did they have a plan? They did not have a plan. We're also talking to Tracy Lee Coco, a name you may or may not know, but you might know the name Lieutenant J. And she played Lieutenant J as a quote-unquote background character on Star Trek The Next Generation, and also worked on other Star Trek projects. It was in some of the films as well. She is the lady with the brunette lady with the flat top.
Yes.
That you've definitely seen sitting next to Captain Picard or Riker at some poetry reading or concert or whatever the bullshit they do in 10 Forward is. That's probably the most famous thing I could think of, or the most iconic thing I could think of. But she's definitely been a part of the show for a long time. One of the people that I've wanted to talk to for a long time because, you want to talk to Frakes or Picard, not his name, but it is to me, or whatever. But these are the people that are there longer than the stars are.
Yeah.
Because they call the stars out for their scenes. These people have to walk through the background, pretend to hit buttons, shake around when the ship's getting attacked or whatever. Like, they're more foundational in a lot of ways to Star Trek than the principals are.
You have a good point. Yeah.
Because, if one of the principals isn't working out, an oil slick kills her and we just move on.
Right.
But we still need Guy Vardaman to paint his hands white because Brent Spiner wants to go home and we need to get these insert shots of Data messing with stuff.
Right.
Or playing the violin or whatever. And so, that's why I'm really excited to talk to her and ask her about her work on that. We're also talking to Naomi Kreitzer. She is a local author. She's a guest of honor at the show. And she is a fantasy author. She's going to be on my Enterprising Individuals panel.
Oh.
So I'm very excited about that. We're talking about Star Trek The Wrath of Khan, of course. I've mentioned that previously. And I want to mention that we're talking to Jai Nitz, who is a writer for DC Comics, probably most famously known as the creator of El Diablo.
Awesome.
How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Dude?
Sounds awesome.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to the most?
I'm looking forward to talking to Tracy Lee Coco.
Yeah.
Just because I think it's going to be interesting talking to her about just her background in Star Trek.
Yeah. And she's a stunt woman as well. She's just one of those people who you're not going to see her name above the title and anything, but she's just been working in the industry for a long time and kind of just filling those niches.
Yeah.
These people are really important.
They are really important.
And I think she's got a great sense of humor too. So we're
awesome.
going to put that to the test. Got a lot of questions for her for my fanfic about her and Captain Picard. We're sitting really close at that poetry reading. That's all I'm saying. Well, if you want to keep up on our poetry readings, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And you can also find us on iTunes. Any one of those, if you search for Enterprising Individuals or EIST Pod, you will find the related page. When you're on iTunes, subscribe to the show because it is the best way to get the show. As soon as it's ready, it comes right to you. You get it nice and fresh and piping hot. Also, while you're there, give us a review if you would, please, because we love hearing from the fans and hearing how you think we're doing. And give us a rating. So important, because when you give us a high rating, we move up in the ranks. I've explained this all before. iTunes knows we're doing a good job. We get exposed to more people, and we get exactly what we want, and also hopefully you get what you want. And to that end, speaking of exposure, give us 5 boob ships. If they'd only had 4 more boob ships, that's 10 ships of boob and 10 boobs in the... How does that even work?
I have no idea.
And I've heard it described as well as like the engines go out, so they're like fallopian tubes. The whole thing is kind of uterine.
Wow. Okay.
Well, because and I don't. I mean, this is Roger Corman. I don't really subscribe to this theory, although it was Cameron designing all this stuff. Everything is phallic in these movies. Like,
sure,
you've got lightsabers, we're swinging those around, getting your Schwartz tangled or whatever, and it's all these things. And so maybe Cameron was like, he wanted to emphasize this planet of people that were more nurturing and not warlike, and how are they going to defend themselves against this huge dick ship, you know? And so they send like this pink boob womb ship out. There is one, warrior woman in the thing who's like acts, quote unquote masculine, and that she wants to fight and all that stuff. But otherwise, it's a triumph of the feminine over the masculine. Do you buy it?
I guess I do, tangentially.
That's the 45% of buying it.
Yes.
That makes sense now. So anyway, in order to avoid all of that rigmarole, just give us 5 stars. We'd appreciate it. We'll be back next week with Comic Book Club. Oh, boy. I'm kind of excited about this. So we talked about Spider-Man before, and we wanted to do a little comic book that would have something to do with Spider-Man, because I think that makes sense. And in this case, we're going to do something that you hear about, but nobody's really read. For instance,
sure.
I've heard about this for years, and I've actually never read this. And so we're going to do the storyline, The Death of Jean DeWolf.
All right.
It's from Spectacular Spider-Man, issues 107 through 110.
Okay.
And it is about, it's about the death of Jean DeWolf. What do you want me to tell you? It's written by Peter David. This is like classic Peter David, I think.
Okay.
I don't mean classic like his best work. I mean classic like, in this, he is the most Peter David that's ever Peter David did. For good or ill. And so you'll see a real... It came out like in the mid-'80s. You'll see a real... as you know from things like The Dark Knight, Watchmen, comics were catching up with 70s and later 80s cinema. So they were getting grittier. They were getting, more streets and shooting and realistic and stuff like that. Gritty, grimdark.
Sure.
And so it wasn't just DC that did that. Like Marvel did that as well. And you're going to, you'll see that. That'll be here. It begins with the murder of a beloved character, and we just go from there. So Death of Jean DeWolf, Spectacular Spider-Man 107 to 110. These are easy to find online. If you want to read these, please do, so you can read along with us for Comic Book Club next week. And that's it. I think we should sign off. I'm your host, Caliban.
I'm your co-host, Mikan Hana.
Keep the geek fires burning.